A Munro is a mountain in Scotland with a height over 3,000 ft. Munros are named after Sir Hugh Munro, 4th Baronet, who produced the first list of such hills, known as Munros Tables, in 1891. A Munro top is a summit that is not regarded as a separate mountain and which is over 3,000 feet. In the 2012 revision of the tables, published by the Scottish Mountaineering Club, there are 282 Munros and 227 further subsidiary tops. The best-known Munro is Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the British Isles. The Munros of Scotland present challenging conditions to hikers, particularly in winter. Each year, people die on the mountains. Nevertheless, a popular practice amongst hill walkers is Munro bagging, the aim being to climb all of the listed Munros. As of 2009, more than 4,000 had reported completing their round. The first continuous round of the Munros was completed by Hamish Brown in 1974, whilst the current holder of the record for the fastest continuous round is Stephen Pyke, who completed his 2010 round in just under 40 days. History: before the publication of Munros Tables in 1891, there was much uncertainty about the number of Scottish peaks over 3,000 feet. Estimates ranged from 31 to 236. When the Scottish Mountaineering Club was formed in 1889, one of its aims was to remedy this by accurately documenting all of Scotland's mountains over 3,000 feet. Sir Hugh Munro, a founding member of the club, took on the task using his own experience as a mountaineer, as well as detailed study of the Ordnance Survey 6-inch to the mile and 1-inch to the mile maps. Munro researched and produced a set of tables that were published in the Scottish Mountaineering Club Journal in September 1891. The tables listed 538 summits over 3,000 feet, 282 of which were regarded as separate mountains. The term Munro applies to separate mountains, while the lesser summits are known as tops. Munro did not set any measure of topographic prominence by which a peak qualified as a separate mountain, so there has been much debate about how distinct two hills must be if they are to be counted as two separate Munros. The Scottish Mountaineering Club has revised the tables, both in response to new height data on Ordnance Survey maps and to address the perceived inconsistency as to which peaks qualified for Munro status. In 1992, the publication of Alan Dawson's book Relative Hills of Britain showed that three tops not already considered summits had a prominence of more than 500 feet. Given this, they would have qualified as Corbett summits had they been under 3,000 feet. In the 1997 tables, these three tops, on Bain Iligan, Bain Igi and Bourget of Beag, gained full Munro summit status. Dawson's book also highlighted a number of significant tops with as much as 197 feet of prominence which were not listed as Munro subsidiary tops. The 1997 tables promoted 5 of these to full Munro status. Other classification schemes in Scotland, such as the Corbett's 2,500 euro 3,000 ft and Graham's 2,000 euro 2,500 ft, require a peak to have a prominence of at least 500 feet for inclusion. The Munros, however, lack a rigid set of criteria for inclusion, with many summits of lesser prominence listed, principally because their summits are hard to reach. The 1997 tables ironed out many anomalies, but despite it being the highest profile hill list in UK, some still consider it not wholly satisfactory. During May and July 2009, the Munro Society resurveyed several mountains that are known to be close to the 3,000 ft figure to determine their height more accurately. On September 10, 2009, the Society announced that the mountain Scar to the First Arananshian, south of Glencairn, had a height of 2,997 feet. Therefore, the Scottish Mountaineering Club removed the Munro status of Scar to the First Arananshian, and this mountain is now a Corbett. In a summer 2011 height survey by the Munro Society, Bainachlade was found to be 2,998 feet 8 inches and thus short of the Munro mark. In September 2012, the Scottish Mountaineering Club demoted it from Munro to Corbett status. As of September 2012, the Scottish Mountaineering Club lists 282 Munros and 227 further subsidiary tops. Munros, Perhaps the most famous Munro is Ben Nevis in the Hillwalkers area. It is the highest peak in the British Isles, with an elevation of 4,409 feet. Other well-known Munros include, Ben Lomond, 3,196 ft, the most southerly of the Munros. Ben Hope in Sutherland, 3,041 feet, is the most northerly Munro. Ben Macdui, 4,295 ft. And Cairn Gorm, 4,085 ft in the Cairn Gorms, Bochaelative Mar squared R, 3,350 ft, at the entrance to Glencoe, one of the most photographed Munros, Bainigi, 3,310 ft, in Torridon, Leitch, 3,461 ft, in Torridon, Lochnagar, 3,789 ft, a mountain near the royal castle of Balmoral in the area of Glenmuick, Llewellyn, 3,553 ft, a mountain often described as lying at the centre of Scotland. In Perth and Kinross, Scar to the First R and Angillion, 3,163 ft. Scar to the First R Alistair, 3,251 ft in the inaccessible Pinnacle, 3,235 ft in the Curlian Hills on the Isle of Skye, bagging the Munros. Compared with some continental ranges, Scottish mountains might be modest in height, but walking and climbing in them can be treacherous because of their latitude and exposure to Atlantic and Arctic weather systems. Even in summer, conditions can be atrocious. Thick fog, strong winds, driving rain and freezing summit temperatures are not unusual. Winter ascents of some Munros are serious undertakings due to the unpredictable weather, the likelihood of ice and snow, and poor visibility. Some walkers are unprepared for extreme weather on the exposed tops, and fatalities are recorded every year, often resulting from slips on wet rock or ice. Some hill walkers aim to climb every Munro, known as Munro bagging. Munro bagging is a form of peak bagging. A walker who has climbed all Munros is entitled to be called a Munroist. Notable completions: by May 2013, more than 5,000 people had completed the Munros. The Scottish Mountaineering Club, who maintain a list of those Munroists who have reported completing the Munros, have attempted to popularise the archaic spelling of completion. Hugh Munro never completed his own list, missing out on Car Rn and Fhidlai and Car Rn Cloich Mholin. Sir Hugh is said to have missed the inaccessible pinnacle of Scar to the First R Dig, on the Isle of Skye, which he never climbed. However, the Pin, as it is known colloquially within Scottish mountaineering, was only listed as a subsidiary top on his list. The first completionist was to be the Reverend A. E. Robertson, in 1901, later minister at Braes of Rannoch from 1907. However, researchers cast doubt on this claim, and it is not certain that he reached a summit of Ben Nevis. Also, it is known that Robertson did not climb the inaccessible peak of Scar to the First R Dig. If Robertson is discounted, the first Munroist is Ronald Byrne, who completed in 1923. Byrne is also the first person to climb all the subsidiary tops. The person with the most rounds of Munros is Stephen Fallon from Edinburgh, who has completed 13 rounds as of 2006. Chris Smith became the first Member of Parliament to complete the Munros when he reached the summit of Scar to the First R and Anquareghan on May 27, 1989. Ben Fleetwood is probably the youngest person to have completed a round. He climbed the final Munro of his round Ben Moore on August 30, 2011 at the age of 10 years and 3 months. The youngest completionist to have done the round without the presence of a parent or a guardian is probably Andy Nisbet, who finished his round in 1972 aged 18 years and 1 month. Continuous rounds: Hamish Brown did the first continuous self-propelled round of the Munros between April 4 and July 24, 1974 with 449,000 ft of ascent and mostly walking 1,639 miles just 150 miles were on a bicycle. The journey is fully documented in his book Hamish's Mountain Walk, which is credited with kick-starting the popularity of Munro bagging as a hobby. The average time taken to bag all the Munros is 8 years. The first reported completion of all the Munros plus the subsidiary tops in one continuous expedition was by Chris Townsend in 1996. His trip lasted between May 18 and September 12. He covered a distance of 1,770 miles with 575,000 ft of ascent. The round was broken twice for spells at the office, which could be regarded as stretching the meaning of continuous. The first person to complete a winter round was Martin Moran in 1984/85. His journey lasted between 21 December 1984 and 13 March 1985. He walked 1,028 miles with 412,000 ft of ascent. He used motor transport to link his walk. In the winter of 2005/06, Steve Perry completed a continuous unsupported round entirely on foot. He is also the first person to have completed 2 continuous Munro rounds, having also walked Land's End to John O'Rourke's via every mainland 3,000 ft mountain between 18 February 2003 and 30 September 2003. Fastest round, Charlie Campbell, a former postman from Glasgow, held the record for the fastest round of the Munros between 2000 and 2010. He completed his round in 48 days 12 hours, finishing on July 16, 2000. On Ben Hope he cycled and swam between Munros. No motorised transport was used. His record was broken by Stephen Pyke of Stone, Staffordshire, in 2010, who completed the round in 39 days, 9 hours. Pyke's round started on the island of Mull on April 25, 2010 and finished on Ben Hope in Sutherland on June 3, 2010. He cycled and kayaked between Munros. No motorised transport was used. He was backed by a support team in a motorhome, but had to camp out in the more remote areas. On September 18, 2011, Alex Robinson and Tom O'Connell finished their self-propelled continuous round on Ben Hope in a time of 48 days 6 hours and 56 minutes, setting the second fastest time ever. At the age of just 21, Alex also became the youngest person to have completed a continuous round without the use of any motorised transport. See also, the SMC recognises 6 peaks in England, 15 in Wales and 13 in Ireland that would be Munros or Munro tops if they were in Scotland. These are referred to as Firth Munros, that is the Munros Firth of Scotland. The first recorded furthest is James Parker, who completed on Tryfan in April 19, 1929. Bill Smith, List of Munros, Hill lists in the British Isles, Mountains and Hills of Scotland, References, Notations, The Munros, Donald Bennett al., ISBN 0-907521-13-4, Footnotes. External links, Scottish Mountaineering Club official Munros page, including completionists. Track your Munro progress and keep your friends up to date. Munro Magic Euro details and route descriptions for all Munros. Walk Highlands Guide to the Munros Euro includes free OS maps and GPS routes for each Munro, and detailed descriptions. The Munros and Tops 1891 Euro 1997 Euro spreadsheet showing changes in successive editions of Munros Tables. ScottishHills.com Euro Hill Walking Forum with Munro, Corbett, Graham and Donald's log, maps and trip reports.